Hello YouTube and welcome. I'm making this video for a couple of reasons. The first reason is to make an offer to Jeran Campanella of Jeranism channel and a leading light guru, if you will, in the so-called flat earth community. To make an offer to him to come onto my channel and to present evidence that supports his assertion that the moon landings, the moon landings from 1969 to 1972 or whenever, did not occur, that they were faked by NASA. So, Jeran, here is the offer. You can come onto my channel at a time of mutual agreement, and I will give you 15 minutes uninterrupted time to present the evidence to support your assertion that the moon landings were faked by NASA. At the end of that 15 minutes, I would like to have the opportunity to ask some questions and hopefully you to provide some answers to those questions for the benefit of anybody who happens to be viewing or to view the video later on. But that will be entirely up to you. If you wish to simply present your evidence and leave, you are welcome to do so. But there is the offer, and please feel free to get in touch in any way that you can. I will even put an email address that you can contact in the description on this video. The second reason for publishing this video is to advertise the debate between Red of Red Rhetoric channel and Jeran of the Jeranism channel, which took place on the Non Sequitur channel on Friday last. This debate was some time in the setting up. I think Red had been trying to get Jeran to engage in another debate for almost 2 years. They had a debate some time ago, I think over 2 years ago. And finally, Jeran agreed to do so. The basis of the debate, which was agreed for by both parties beforehand, was that each side would have 15 minutes to present evidence that supported their particular view of the shape of the Earth. So in Red's case, he would present evidence that supported the globe Earth model or view, and Jeran would present evidence that supported the flat Earth model, or a flat Earth view of the shape of the Earth. Now, the reason I want to advertise this is because if you would expect anybody to be able to produce evidence in support of a flat Earth, Jeran might be your person. Jeran has been engaged in flat Earth, making flat Earth videos for some time now, certainly for more than 2 years. He has lots and lots of videos made. He has even made some, I've got to say, quite poor attempts at doing some of his own experiments and tests. And he appears regularly on discussion forums and so on, promoting this idea that the Earth is actually flat. So somebody who's been engaged in that amount of effort, you would expect them to have some evidence to back up their particular claim or opinion. However, in the course of this 15 minutes, Jeran produced absolutely no evidence whatsoever. Now, I'm not being biased in saying that. I'm going to play his full 15-minute presentation. And apart from a couple of short interruptions from the moderator, who simply pointed out to him that he wasn't presenting evidence and that was what this part of the debate was supposed to be about, And the moderator was trying to give Jeran the opportunity to get onto the evidence that he was going to present, so that he wouldn't be at a disadvantage later on in the debate because he had not presented any evidence. No, Jeran presented nothing, and you'll see that for yourself. He spent the full 15 minutes giving some opinions about how difficult it is to prove things or demonstrate things, convince people of a particular opinion, seeming to say that the globe Earth model has been indoctrinated into people, but without providing any evidence to actually back that up. And then he went on to say that NASA can't be believed at all, and the moon landings were faked. And I've made an invitation to him to come on and back up that claim. But at no point does he present any evidence at all. If you think he does present some evidence, please comment below and point out a time at which Jeran presents something we can consider to be evidence in this. So I'll play the full 15 minutes uninterrupted, just for the sake of completeness, but essentially this is the end of my video. The offer is made to Jeran, and please go and check out the whole debate, and you will see not only does Jeran not present any evidence, but he gets he doesn't manage to come up with any good arguments later on in the debate, and in Red's sort of language, he gets his ass handed to him. So thanks for watching, and please comment below, and please, if you know Jeran, let him know about my invitation.
All right, got that one kind of close, but okay. Jeran, I will go ahead and set up a 15-minute timer for your opening statement, and I will start the timer whenever you're.
So that's the voice of the moderator, I should point out. Jeran starts about now.
Ready?
I'm ready.
All right.
So I do think it's important that people recognize that I do need to kind of tell a story first, so that they understand, where I'm coming from. We have to ask ourselves the question if something is true because everyone believes it, or is it something true because it's true? For example, all the Mayans believed in their god Quetzalcoatl, or whatever his name is pronounced. Is that God the true God? Well, of course, all of us would say no, not at all, even if everyone believed it. Now, that'd be tough to prove to the Mayans. Wouldn't you say that if I showed up into that Mayan culture and tried to prove that that wasn't the correct God, well, they're going to start asking me questions like, well, how does the crops grow? How are babies born? And I'm not going to have an answer to that question, but it doesn't make my argument incorrect. That when I say that their God is not the correct God, that is a fact. It's going to end up being the true statement there. But I'm going to have a hard time proving that when they've got their preconceived notions, their beliefs that they grew up with in that culture. So the beliefs that many people have in today's culture also come from the same kind of idea. Growing up under a certain indoctrination, I might call it, you might call it public education, but I call it indoctrination. When you sit everybody down and you make them memorize facts, it absolutely destroys science, and I'll get to that in a minute. So if people did come along and said, I don't think that your God is correct, that person is not lying, or that person is not incorrect. They may not have the kind of evidence of how plants grow. They maybe don't know about chlorophyll. They maybe, we don't know. So to look at the world with scientific eyes is to look at the world without a bias. Now, the problem with that is that obviously all of us have biases, preconceived notions in everything that we do, and there's no way you can get around that. In fact, even if you're looking at an experiment or a test, the fact that you want to do that test or experiment, or the fact that you're going to do it, means that you have some sort of feeling about the test, or that you want it to go a certain way. So while people may just kind of come across as being very unbiased, we all have a bias, and we should admit that. So if you do science like Red does, like he'll talk about tonight, like Astronomy Live does, that Sean does, then you're doing science to confirm science. And confirming science is pseudoscience, because you can really prove anything. I mean, if you want to go out and prove Santa Claus exists, which is what Red will try and do tonight, that's easy because you have tons of evidence. There's presents under the tree. There's lots of stories. There's songs. There's poems. So you can prove Santa Claus exists. When you try and disprove Santa, that's when things get interesting. And then what happens is a person basically only holds on to things that are actually true in their belief system, because you start to eliminate things, in a deductive way. So otherwise, you have never-ending arguments. For instance, if you're trying to prove Santa exists and then you see a parent bringing the presents, you can just say, oh, well, in this case, Santa needed to drop off the presents with the parents. He was running late. You can just keep making excuses, which is what I see happening everywhere. That you can bring up certain things that don't work with the globe, and you'll just get an excuse. And since basically the intellectual circles all are built around this idea of the globe Earth, then nobody's going to call each other out. For instance, if somebody, like Sean or somebody like that says something that's wrong, that he's not going to get called out by that team because they want to propagate this idea of the globe. So when we really start testing theories truthfully, then we should try and destroy them. That should be the test. Science has lost its way, as have its followers, in my opinion, because are you trying to confirm science or disconfirm? And Karl Popper has said that, science disconfirms, pseudoscience confirms. So when you look at the channels like Wolfie, who, many people consider, a death nail to flat Earth. He's not a death nail to flat Earth. He is an absolute pusher of pseudoscience because all he does is confirm the globe Earth. Well, that's not science. That's going to be doing a disservice to everyone involved. And so I'm going to prove that tonight, that basically everything that they're doing is by design meant to show them the answer that they get. So Red will argue tonight that his model best matches reality. And so let's start there. If a model matches reality best, is it really any good if there are many other models that equally model it? So say, for instance, that we change the sun to 3 million miles in diameter, and say that it's 330 million miles away, and the Earth is still spinning 1,000 miles per hour. Well, if you start...
Hold on, Jeran. I paused the timer at 10 minutes. You just spent 5 minutes and have not presented one single thing for your model yet. Fantastic.
It's my opening statement.
And that's kind of the whole point of the opening statement, is to present evidence for your model.
Okay, fantastic.
So starting the timer again.
Yeah, if the debate is, as I was told, which model best suits reality, then what I'm proving here is that there's many models that can prove reality, because the Earth could be traveling at 236,575 miles around the sun in a 2.1 billion mile yearly orbit. The moon would be 5,100 miles in diameter and 565,000 miles away. And guess what? Not a damn thing would change from Earth. Not a thing. And that's proof right in and of itself that the model that Red's going to present tonight mathematically is going to be correct mathematically, but so is the one I just named. And so are a billion others that can be concocted mathematically. Again, I can have a mathematical treatise here that tells you all the distance between all the rides on my theme park, and it can have all the trajectories and the angles, and everything can be 100% perfect. But guess what? I don't have a theme park. It's completely fake. Yet I can provide you mathematical evidence all I want. And then if I start saying, well, go measure this and measure that and look at this from this angle, then you might be able to pull those out and say that they are confirming, but it's not confirming anything. So I understand that I'll have issues tonight with most of the audience, mostly for one reason. Red, as well as many of you, think that science has all the answers. You think that we have all these great gadgets and tools and inventions that we all use because science has the answers, and it's absolutely the false thing to think. We have those things because science does not have all the answers. So what happened in the past is people were able to basically break trends and to do things in different ways, and that's how we discovered all the great things we've discovered. And now what you guys have become is a team of haters. That if things do not conform to what science believes now, you call people names, you have a problem with everything that they're saying, when that is what science is. All throughout history, you can look at science as the constant removal of what was before it. Science has never been right. And so I wanted to point that out. I mean, if you look at it this way, many of my, you want to say I don't provide evidence. The evidence is that when you take a look at the way that the heliocentric model came to be, and you research it from the beginning until the end, you will see that it does not match our reality, that there's evidence for it that has been propped up, things that have been said for thousands of years that do not stand the test of time. I could show many things, including books written back 1600, 1500, and 1400 that do not jive with the reality of what we're taught today. One of those being, Newton discovering gravity, whereas it's talked about extensively in Copernicus's book, where he's explaining exactly what gravity is. He says exactly what happens and why the Earth's a sphere, and it's because of gravity, and everything's being pulled equally to the center. So once you realize this, you realize you're being told a story. It's just like the religions that told me that Jesus was my savior. They told me a story, and I needed to believe what they said based on just the fact that they said it. And that's what's going on with this. That just because you tell me how big Saturn is, I have to believe it. It may work mathematically. I still have to believe you and trust you to believe it. That to me is not conforming to reality. That is a great story. So, if you're talking about Rupert Sheldrake or, Neil deGrasse Tyson, for example, one of those people will never change the world. They will never invent or change anything. They will.
I've paused the timer again, Jeran.
Okay.
You agreed to the format before we began that it was going to be presenting evidence to support your model. You have yet to do that, and you have 6 minutes and 32 seconds left.
Okay. What is an opening statement? When even before this, what did you say about the opening statement? That we could say anything?
No, the open discussion is whatever you guys want to talk about. The opening statement is to present evidence to support the model you believe in.
Okay, sounds great.
So starting the timer again, you got 6:32 left.
Okay. So again, I'll just point out that when you have to prove your model, disproving somebody else's is the model of reality, is proof of your model. That is proof of it. So, I am sticking around proof and telling you why people should disbelieve or should question what we've all been taught. When it's a story that is mathematical only, that has no basis in reality, none of you have ever, let's put it this way, nobody has a picture of the Earth. When's the last time somebody took a photo of the Earth? Well, if you believe in the moon landings, which good luck to you if you believe in that, but if you believe in the moon landings, then 1972 is the last time a human being was able to take a photograph of the Earth as a ball. That's ridiculous. For me, I don't believe in the moon landing. So that means that there is no person in the history of this world that has ever taken a photograph of the Earth. And when I have NASA telling me, oh, well, we can go out there and we can do these things, and all satellite pictures are run through computer. Every single one of them has to go through a computer before anybody ever sees it. And so if
Jeran,
you want to...
you just want to forfeit your time since you're not going to present any evidence to support your model?
This is all evidence to support the model.
No, you're not. The whole point of providing evidence to support your model was to not bash the opposing model. We agreed to this before we started.
Okay, I thought you said the opening statement was for anything, but that's fine. That's fine. Okay. So as evidence of my model is the fact that we cannot find any measured curvature, nor can we find any proof that is a mechanical proof, repeatable, observable proof of the globe. When you do go out and you do observe the area around you, you will realize that it's flat, that the stars appear close. So the evidence for that is going to be lots of things. I have a test coming up that is going to be one that is risky, which is what science tests should be. They should be risky in the fact that you could be disproving your theory. Nobody tries to disprove the globe theory. So there is no measurable curvature on the Earth. We've been told that there is, but clearly we've seen, or I've shown, that geodesy measures basically perspective and calls that a drop in the Earth going away from you in distance. As far as other evidences, when you take circle mathematics and you reduce things down to radians, I don't think that math is correct when showing what would happen on a circle when you're figuring out the curvature of a circle, taking a small angle and calling that a certain amount of radians and then changing that to a certain degree, because you have to multiply that out and it comes out to 180, not 360. That's another one of the evidences against the globe. But as far as evidence for the flat Earth, there there needs to be a concerted effort from a group of people to get the kind of evidence that people would call proof. That it's not going to be a couple people sitting at home on their computers that are going to refute the entirety of science for the last 400 years. So I think it's a little premature to be requiring from people that have come on their computer and just are voicing out that they do not believe anymore in what they were taught. That I think it's asking a lot. I mean, Copernicus's book came out. It does 100 years until people even started to believe it, start to listen to it. So to say in 3 years that the flat Earth movement should have the kind of proof and evidence that the globe Earth has would be ridiculous. But again, my evidence is my senses, my understanding of the globe Earth model. The problem with somebody saying things like, well, you can't mention NASA. Well, nobody would be a flat earther if it wasn't for NASA. Nobody at all. NASA is a completely inept organization, period. They're a huge reason why there's this upkick in people believing that the Earth isn't a sphere, because they've done nothing on their end to prove it. So whether or not Red wants to say, oh, well, we don't need to mention those people, that's fine. But if it wasn't for NASA, I wouldn't be here today. If it wasn't for the fact that when you research the globe Earth and you try and go back, you find it to be a series of stories told by priests, aka scientists and historians, that have managed to convince people that this story is true, even though we know nothing about history is true. And the other thing about what you guys will try and do is say that, a lot of my beliefs are based on a conspiracy theory or conspiracies. And I just hope that people recognize that everything that goes on in your daily life is a conspiracy. So that is ridiculous. From buying things at the store, from paying for gas. The price of gas is a conspiracy. That's a fact. It's not a question of whether or not things are a conspiracy or whether conspiracies can exist. So there's tons of evidence that conspiracies exist. Therefore, that's not a good argument against the globe. And again, what I think Red's going to do tonight is try and prove to you with mathematics. He's going to try and make himself seem smart. But again, when you've been taught something from day one in class and you've become really prolific at it, that would be a scary thing if that person was taught lies, because what they would be is a really good liar. They would be really good at repeating what they were taught. And if the people who taught it originally were trying to get something across that wasn't true, well, then, God help us all. The other thing would be that to think that humans have in the last 10 years, or let's say 100 years, in the last 100 years, that you live, those of you who believe that the Earth is 4.54 billion years old, or believe that the universe is 14 billion years old, if you believe that you live in that 100-year period of time where humans have discovered the age of the universe and the distance to the stars, there's nothing more cocky than that. To think that you just happen to be in that one little area where humans have become smart enough to look back in time, to look out into the distant future, or to look back in time in the distance when you're looking at stars. So I have a lot of evidence against the globe, and all of that combines for me to say, why would these people be putting on this kind of a lie? And why would they be stocking up their evidence in support of this globe? And the only thing I can come up with is that the Earth is not what we were taught. If flat Earth was proven by my experiment, we can talk about that later, or I can I'll announce it on my channel in the next coming days. If I am proven wrong by this experiment, because this experiment will show conclusively if the Earth is a sphere, and if it is, then I will immediately become a geocentric.
All right, Jeran, your time is up.
Thank you.
So, passing it on to you, Red, for your opening statements.
So that was it. That was Jeran's opportunity to present evidence. I didn't hear any evidence at all presented in that 15 minutes. A lot of words that flitted about randomly seemingly randomly between a variety of subjects. A lot of opinion, a lot of stated assertions. Bizarre moment when he seemed to be claiming that mathematics is wrong and that circles are not made up of degrees and radians and so on. But whatever. I didn't hear any evidence. Did you? And Jeran, please, if you do hear of this, and you would like 15 minutes to explain your assertion or to provide the evidence behind your assertion that the moon landings were faked, then please get in touch. There will be an email address in the description that you can send a message to, or you can contact me in the comment section or any other way you choose. Thanks for watching, folks.